semicircle around him. He says, okay, here's what's gonna happen. So we're standing in the pool. He says, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go underwater. I'm gonna show you the drill that you need to do to demonstrate the skill. And then I'm gonna point to one of you and you're gonna do it. If it's okay, I'm gonna do an okay sign, and then I'm gonna point to the next person and go down the line till everybody does it, then we'll go on to the next skill, right? So the first skill was that you're underwater, you have to take your mask and lift it up so water would go in, and then put your mask down and blow with your nose to drain the water out in the bubbles, right? Because of course, if you're underwater 60 feet and your mask pops open or leaks water or something, you need to know how to clear it so you don't run back up and get the bends or something, right? So that was the first skill. So he goes, okay, any questions? No, we all go underwater. And he's demonstrating the skill, right? So, he takes his mask and he does it, lifts it up, lets it, rolls it out, whoop, does like this, it's so easy, and then he points to me. Well, what he didn't realize is me sitting there. This is the first time, obviously, I've ever been underwater breathing, and it didn't make sense in my head, right? So I'm holding my breath, because I snorkel a lot. So I'm holding my breath. And then I realized after a few seconds, well, I can't really hold my breath, I have to breathe. So I decided I'm gonna breathe. And it was like, so I'm breathing like, just barely moving any air at all, because it doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna suck a bunch of water in and die, right? So I'm doing like that. And not very much. Well, you realize real fast that you don't get a lot of air when you do that. So then I was kind of worried because I'm not getting a bunch of air, so my heart rate starts going up a little bit. And I'm thinking, okay, I gotta breathe a little deeper, but if I breathe really deep, my lungs are gonna flood with water. Didn't make a lot of sense, I knew that, but anyway, so I'm trying to do it. And I'm just, my chest is getting real tight. And of course, we're all underwater, we got our full 7mm wetsuits on, it's kind of tight on me, and I got this big BCD on, with this big tank on my back, and there's tubes everywhere, and fins and boots, and and it's getting really constricting, let's say, and my chest is feeling like it's getting crushed, and I'm trying to breathe. And it's not working because I'm running out of air, and I can feel my pressure just getting higher and higher. And so when he does point to me, I'm like this, I put my hands up and get ready to do it, and I'm like, and he's like, and I'm like, so he's like, okay, so he does it again. He shows me, blows it out, and I'm like, and this time, now my heart's really going fast because I'm kind of on the line here, I'm on the spies. So he doesn't worry about me, he moves on to the next guy, and the next guy does it. He comes back to me again. Well, now I had a few more seconds to think about it, and it's even harder. So now I'm breathing deeper, but it's, I'm breathing deeper, and I'm kind of stressing out about that because now when you breathe deep, by the way, underwater, when you exhale, you get bubbles. So there's stupid bubbles in my face, and I can't really see them that clearly. It's kind of like if you're driving in a rainstorm, you can't really see clear. Well, you really don't need to see everything, right? All you need to see is the road, but that's the kind of thinking that was going on in my head. I could see the guy, kind of. Couldn't see everything. Couldn't tell you if he had acne or not because of the bubbles, but either way, it wasn't really clear, and that was another thing adding into my stress on this, right? So anyway, I couldn't do it. We do the whole thing again, and he moves on to the next guy, comes back to me, I still couldn't do it. Moves on to the final guy, finally he's back to me again, and at this point, man, I'm just full blown. I know I'm having a panic attack. My heart is going 100 miles an hour. I am breathing. Oh, heck yeah, I'm breathing. I'm hyperventilating. And then I realize, oh my gosh, I'm hyperventilating. I'm going to respiratory alkalosis. And oh yeah, my fingers are tingling. I'm tingling. I'm going to pass out from respiratory alkalosis, and I'm going to die. And I thought for sure I was having a heart attack, and I stood up. Again, we were in water in a pool at 5 feet on our knees. Didn't make any sense. I stood up, I staggered out of the pool, peeled everything off, and I'm laying there because I thought I was having a heart attack, right? And it took like a half an hour, and finally, my heart rate finally settled down and everything. And I knew I was having a panic attack, I mean, I knew I wasn't having a heart attack, kind of, but not really. I really did think, for whatever reason, I'm going to have a heart attack and die here. And I knew the guy had been doing this for 35 years. I knew that the worst case scenario, if I suck in some going to stand up and cough it out, right? I knew that I personally trained every one of those scouts in CPR and life-saving. There was nothing that could possibly happen in this stupid pool, in the shallow end no less. But that didn't matter, right? The fact was, it was a full-blown panic. And I thought, man, I'm done. There was just no way I'm ever gonna get scuba certified, right? But the problem was, like I said before, it wasn't really about me. I was just one of the leaders for my son's troop. And my son wasn't in my little group, thankfully. He didn't get to see my awesome display of manliness. He was in a different group, and he did fine, right? So now he's certified, and I'm not. And I'm going, okay, this is inconsistent, right? With everything I've ever taught my kids. You know what, feel the fear, get up, do it anyway. Suck it up, right? Yeah, I mean, again, this is coming from some guy who was in the military for 9 years, working with explosives and been through war, and I never had any kind of thing like that happen. Bullets would fly by my head and be like, whoa, that was close. And that was it, right? Here I am in this stupid pool, and I can't do it. So what I ended up doing eventually was I borrowed an oxygen tank. Just so happened my bishop was also a dive master and had the gear. So he loaned me his oxygen tank for 3 months. I sat with my head in my bathtub, breathing underwater, trying to get a little bit better to get over it. And eventually I graduated to my backyard pool, and I'm in the pool, and just kind of going, and it took about 3 months, but I finally got over it. I went through the pool thing, went through the lake. We had really a lot of fun at Catalina Island. And then I was like, this still sucks. This still gives me a tight chest even thinking about diving. So that's when I started the scuba club, the scuba lopes here on campus. Because I was like, we need to have a club so that I can keep getting in the water with those guys. Because, yeah, that's why that's why a landlocked state has a scuba diving club. So that we could, it was all about me. To get over all of this, because that's just not my personality, to give up on anything, right? But that's a panic attack. It's illogical. It is totally unexpected, right? All of those words on that thing, would it have recurred? Yeah, I have no doubt. There's a reason why they have those old sayings, if you fall off a horse, get back on it, fall off a bike, get back on it. Because if you don't, it will become a disorder, not just an attack. That make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so anyway, they do say 20% of people, Americans, will have one at least once in their life. That does not mean you have to continually have them, right? This is why if somebody's having a panic attack, you're going to see people with panic attacks that think they're having heart attacks and show up in your emergency rooms, okay? The EKGs, the troponins, all that stuff are going to tell you differently, but they're going to be convinced that they're having a heart attack. Yeah?
So I had an experience with that. It was during my A&P finals, and it was for lab. And I started having pain, lower back pain. And then I started thinking, oh no, I have to get surgery. And then it just got worse and worse. And then I ended up going to the emergency room, which was not a normal thing for me. And they took me into triage, and all the buzzers started going off. And that's finally when I realized that I had a panic attack. And I was it felt like I was dying, and my chest was it was like my heart was pounding, and it was like my chest was in pain, and it was just so weird because I've never had that happen before.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You're pretty convinced you're going to die.
Yeah.
Again, that's why people are going to show up, thinking that they're dying, and it's not really something you can say, well, stop it, you're fine.
Breathing helps though.
Breathing obviously
yeah.
helps. Yeah. All right. But yeah, that phrase that Quentin used, impending doom, you're pretty sure you're done. And it doesn't have to be logical. Yeah. Okay. PTSD is another one that I think everybody kind of knows what PTSD is, so I don't want to spend a lot of time focusing on re-explaining it to you, other than the one thing you might not know is that it doesn't have to be one single traumatic event to cause PTSD. Okay? It can be a series of smaller traumatic events that put you in a state of PTSD. And that's a little harder to figure out. Okay? So I mean, your due diligence in asking people their medical histories and that sort of thing is going to find it if somebody's been in a plane crash before, or they just got back from Afghanistan, or whatever. Okay? What it might not find is if somebody has had a bunch of series of smaller traumas that they kind of got over, but not really, and then they just kind of built up over time and led to symptoms. For example, I had this one guy that he's a flight nurse on a helicopter, one of those airvac things, and so he comes in, he shows up on my schedule, it's PTSD, okay? Comes in, I start asking him about, any kind of big trauma or something that happened when he was a flight nurse. No, I've only been doing that a couple of months. Okay.